All right. Hello, Next Geners. Welcome to our Melbourne Cup Eve preview. Big show coming up. Damien Ractliffe here from The Age, joined on every show by Hayden Byrne from Daily Sectionals. G'day, Hayden.
Good evening, I should say. We're a man down.
Yeah, we were hoping to have the Hawk. He hasn't replied to our messages. Can only assume he's extremely busy doing some of the work he does for World Horse Racing. Good website out there that broadcasts racing all around the world. So that's fine. We've got 40 minutes to get through this field, a field of 23. I'm going to give you 90 seconds max on each runner. I'm sure there'll be some that you'll keep much shorter than that. And then we'll hopefully sum it up at the end. Just quickly, Derby Day was a bit of a mixed bag with the Golden Eagle, and Derby Day was a bit tricky with the Derby, but we got In Secret right, and my best bet became Very Short once half the field fell away in the Archer being Surefire, but a bit of a mixed bag, and Asphora got us out of trouble late. So anyway, it's I broke even. I don't know about you, but we just got out of trouble late. But anyway, that's the game we play. Let's get stuck into this Melbourne Cup card, and the first horse, Hayden, is Gold Trip, $19 with the tab.
Trippy, what do you do with Trippy? That's the question, mate. What do you do with him? Reality with Trippy with me is if Trippy was an international in terms of just showing up on the shore for the first time, I think he'd be favourite. Going back through his progressive profile, going through races like the Arc as such. There's two ways to look at him. Is he... The glaring statistic with the trip would be 1 win from 15 starts. That's the first thing with him. Comes in with the number 1 saddle cloth. I thought his performance in the naturalism was go right back Rose Hill in the Winter Shale, the listed race. I thought it was a pass mark. Progressed through naturalism Group 3. I thought that was a pass mark also. But the thing I was disappointed in, he didn't look like that arc runner. He didn't look like the big gorilla that we once first thought he was. He's running the Flemington in the Turnbull was excellent. Leader had a party in front. Electric late sectionals, massive squeeze through the mid, electric home late again. Then he progresses Caulfield Cup Day. Again, monster squeeze. You're talking in excess of 20 length squeeze. Sustained speed home. Rolls left out of the lanes. Winner gets a dream run, gets nailed on the line. If he stays out in the same ground as what Durston was, Durston tracked him through. He rolled in. Durston stayed the good part of the track, won the Caulfield Cup. That's the difference between winning and losing. Then he goes to Moonee Valley Cox Plate and has to have one of the world's best trials going into a Melbourne Cup. Ticks all the boxes, wet track profile, ticks the big 2,400 metre profile, which you know that I love going into a Melbourne Cup, and he's a winning chance.
All right. So you spent 2 minutes 12 on him, so I'm expecting you to make it up later. Number 2, Jewess, $23 with the tab. Got as much as 31 at today's call of the card.
Go back through her profile from last campaign, and I would dare to say that she would have trended in the top couple in the betting for a big period of time. Monster performances, Group 1 level, Flemington, Randwick, etc. Smashed the clock at Newcastle. Launched herself into that. Are we seeing another very elegant style? Is she the next, big monster of the turf? She comes in with a profile this campaign. There's always been a little bit of a whisper or a word around, or, it's been reported through the media as well that she hasn't had the perfect campaign. There's been some setbacks there, etc. But one thing she's starting to do is she's starting to furnish conditioning-wise. Monster squeezes again, Flemington, Turnbull, electric home. Then you go through Caulfield Cup. I thought she was a pass mark in the Caulfield Cup without being brilliant. $25, $26 in the market. I think she's massive overs.
All right, number 3, Knight's Order, $14.
He's had a good campaign, but he's one of those runners for me that he's got a ceiling, and the ceiling's not going to be good enough. So for me, I'm, sort of putting him down as one of the lead division. Draws the outside gate. I really don't care about that, but it's going to force his hand either to go hard and set the tempo, and it'll ensure a tempo that's not a vow and declare style -20 Melbourne Cup. It's going to be genuine, and I can't see him winning off a genuine speed.
If we get really, really heavy, which would be to his advantage, how high up could he finish?
Well, the reality, if it gets really heavy, he handles the heavy, so he'll beat half the field home, no matter what.
You wouldn't be putting him in first fours, though.
Oh, he's a wider first four player at very best. He'll get through the ground if it gets heavy.
All right, mate. Number 4 is Montefilia. She's one that we did spruik going into the Caulfield Cup, and clearly the eye catcher.
I left the Caulfield Cup feeling like I had the right horse, wrong result. Electricity Late was her little bit of, I think if Jason Collett had his time again, he might have made a different decision. He sort of got in the ruck. It got very sticky. A couple of boys shifted their spots. He lost his spot. He was trying to follow the right runner, but he just got mixed up in a place where he really didn't want it to be. She suffered a monster slowdown between the 6 and the 4. We go back over this again. We repetitively repeat on the show. Just because you get held up doesn't mean
you can add it on.
It's not. Yeah, it's not as bad as what it looks. You can't go giving horses false lengths because they're held up. One thing it does when you're held up and you don't lose momentum in terms of on the clock is you don't have to overexert through the section where those who are winning the race go earlier. The lactic doesn't kick up as high as what it would if you're exposed and you're trying to make ground over the top of those who have sprinted. She lost 3 lengths in that bustle. She was checked multiple times, lost her footing and had to accelerate from flat foot. Her change-up speed was in excess of 2 lengths off a severe slowdown, and she powered through the line. You could quite easily mark her right up to winning that race. And if you mark her that high, then you can say, okay, now you're starting to trend to historical peaks at 2,000 metres and the historical peaks at the 2,400, which puts you right in the race. So, from a video watcher's perspective, it was hard to miss her. In terms of winning credentials in a Melbourne Cup, she has them. Top 3 chance.
Okay, number 5, Numerian, $51 with the tab. Today at the call of the card, $91 available, and a syndicate popped 20 grand on her to win 1.8 million. Him, I should say.
I wish them all the very, very best. He will handle all conditions. That's a bonus. He's a first half of the field player at best for me, and he's probably around the right price at $91.
Okay. Horse number 6 is Without a Fight, $11, probably regarded as the second dangerous international out of Werribee.
He's got a good profile without being electric, and half my problem with him is he's beaten plotters. So, his wins have looked impressive visually. He ticks that 2,800 metre box. But he hasn't, he's not really racing much in terms of his visual appearance. He ticks the box. He's got an element of change-up speed to him, which is good. The other thing that I do like about him is he's got 2,000 metre form. So, when you go through these horses and you question mark whether they are genuine cup chances or they're more internationals with 2,800 metre profile that can be competitive in some weaker level group races, and then they end up over the hurdles. He's a pass mark for mine. Question marks with him's probably going to be if the ground really gets into that heavy range, he's unexposed.
Yeah.
But there's two things with horses when they get into the heavy range with no exposure to it. They could be the big sleeping giant. So if you haven't been on it, you could thrive on it. But if you haven't got the clarity around it, you got a problem. The thing with their soft tracks over there is they can get into what we would deem a heavy range. So you've got to give him a little bit on that and say that there's a big chance that he could get through it.
The stable have definitely said they would prefer it dry. They're worried about rain.
Well, that makes sense to me when I was having a look at his profile. But as I say, again, stable preferred dry because he's exposed to it. He's he's a 5-time winner on dry ground.
Yeah.
He's a 2-time winner on the soft, and that soft may have been trending high towards a good range. So he's going to be a question mark on it, but he's unexposed. He's a top 6 sort of player with knockout winning credentials.
Number 7, Kimura, another international. Ben and JD Hayes have looked after this horse. He's $51.
Yeah, it comes through 2,800 metre race, Curragh Cup. Yeah, and then his profile prior to that was okay without being fantastic. Then he was sort of, beaten 20 lengths in Irish St. Ledger. He's a hard horse to make a big case for. He's not for me.
Number 8, the favourite Deauville Legend, $3.60. There was $3.70 bet today at the call of the card. Some are of the opinion he could get out to $4 or better tomorrow.
He's got some good form around good horses, and it's what you like to look for. Plus, he's got a 2,400 metre profile. He's got sustained speed. He's got change-up speed, so he's not slow. And he's got some form around good horses. I think everybody was very dismissive of the Australian profiles coming in and sort of thought we had a bit of a B grade division and our A grade weren't performing up to the level that they could. Then everybody turned it into a match race, Deauville Legend and Loft. There's a little bit of 100-1 going around on Deauville Legend, so I'm told. And with Loft out, it sort of just left him there, hasn't it? He's the right horse without being the striking right horse. He doesn't bring the cross-counter, rekindling sort of energy. To me, he's part of that winning pack.
I was going to say, even horses like Il Paradiso and Tiger Moth, who didn't win, but brought that sort of X factor.
They did. They had electric change-up speed. They had big levels of sustained speed. This bloke is good without being great. I've got a question for you. Is he a little bit overrated because he whacked El Bogadon?
Well, that would certainly come into it. Like I reckon his price shortened a bit after that. After that Cox play. So but he's 7 starts. He's the Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old that everyone gets obsessed with. Then he's carrying 55.5 kilos. Those other horses carried 51. But you say, he's good, not great. But this Melbourne Cup field is good, not great.
Correct. Then you go and you have a look at his profile. He's 6 starts, 3 wins, 2 seconds on good ground, and he's 1 start for a second on synthetic. And you're taking $3 in a Melbourne Cup on, we could get 10 mil of rain and hail tomorrow. So there has to be an element of doubt with him. It wouldn't surprise me if he came out and won really well. He's not that slow international. He's got form around really good horses. Al Kareem, he's a pass mark. Walker Stars is a nice horse. Secret State, obviously you got Al Bogadon. There wasn't a hell of a lot between him and Hu Ya Mai. in the Gordon Stakes, the Group 3 race at Goodwood. And by memory, Mai started well in front of him in the market on that day.
Yeah, he did.
So,
but he was an Epsom Derby winner and bit of boom on an Epsom Derby winner. Like, you win an Epsom Derby, you're going to start short in a lot of races. So whether you want to focus too much on that SP.
So he's a nice horse without being like a superstar. He's not a superstar international, but he's got fantastic 2,400 metre form. Dry ground would elevate his chances significantly. So if the rain stays away, it races S5. He's likely going to be the horse to beat. There's that question mark if the track significantly deteriorates. So he's a worthy favourite without being, pile your money in.
All right. I should ask, what sort of track are you working towards with your form?
I'm going to have to expect that rain to hit and the track to somewhat deteriorate. But, you've seen it on Derby Day, and that was, S5, S6. So, S7, if the rain strikes, H8, if it strikes mid-race or like during a race, they can cut it up a little bit. That's my only question mark with him, with that horse.
All right, we'll come back to him, assuming we've got time. Number 9, Stockman, $26, ran over 2,000 metres on Saturday in Sydney.
Yeah, he had a nice little trial Saturday in Sydney. Really, really strong through the line. His performance to back Randwick was excellent. He's going to get the distance. He'll get through the ground. He's a knockout, trifecta first 4 sort of player, particularly if the rain really hits. I can't get overly excited about him, but he's certainly airborne.
Number 10, Vow and Declare, $23, won this race 3 years ago.
He did in a walk stroll, get the money. Well done to everybody. His historical numbers to put him into the race. So, we're starting to go back to then, 2019. I can't have him. Good luck.
Number 11, the stablemate, Young Werther, $41.
I was pretty bullish about this bloke in the Cox Plate, and even though he ran 10th, he was beaten 3 lengths, and I think he went okay. Loved his performance prior to that in the Turnbull. We've discussed multiple times over the last couple of weeks that the Turnbull, albeit surprise winner as such at big odds, those who ran behind him in the Turnbull had perfect prep runs, like just golden fitness runs. He went through the Cox Plate. I thought he was good. There was a little bit of a conditioning blowout in him again. So he's only going to improve further. He's starting to trend to his historical best. And his historical best puts him in the race. Heavy ground, I think he'll get through it. Soft ground he'll thrive on. Knockout
3,200.
Never really indicated to me that he couldn't get it. When it comes to an Australian 3,200, I'm big on the 2,400 metre profile. So that's something that if you tick that box, 2,000 metre profile is vastly different. 2,000 metre profile, you need an element of sustained speed, and only high pressure Cox Plates do you have to really rip into 1,200 metres of sustained speed. That's what you need to run 24. You got the 1,200 in you can certainly win a Melbourne Cup. He's got that. Only query with him, I'd love one more run. If he had one more run, I'd rubber stamp him as not only a winning contender, but I'd push him pretty close to the top. But I've got to back that off a little bit.
Okay.
That's where I rely on him.
We'll sum up your numbers later. Number 12, Huya Mal, $15.
Huya Mal, interesting runner. As you said, what was he? Second in the Epsom Derby.
Yeah.
You go through the profile of him, he was second in the Epsom Derby. He went through a series of races by memory, he was purchased after the Epsom Derby. Is that correct? Targeting the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, my understanding was he was in a sale heading into that derby. Gay
Yep.
Waterhouse and the team put an offer in. The owner said, no, we're going to go to the sale. And they ended up getting him anyway.
Okay. So he was purchased with that in mind. So, his lead-up performances look like a horse who didn't want to really, who had the Melbourne Cup in mind the whole time, and he might have had a couple of little quiet ones there without being fully exposed. That was to my visual.
I think Gay reckons he was ridden incorrectly on that occasion.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me when you don't want to get a hefty penalty leading into a race like this. I'm not totally dismissive of this horse's chances. He's very, very lightly raced, and he has an element of talent. So he's another I wouldn't begrudge anyone putting him into first fours, trifectas, etc. I'm not going to dismiss him at all.
Okay, number 13 is Serpentine at $61. I thought it was a decent run on the weekend, running second to Surefire in the Archer.
It was. The run was a touch mistimed. In my humble, he was a little bit pretty on him. Big slowdown forward to the 2, sustained speed home. No, is my words on him. I think he'll be part of the pace, and I'm not interested in him.
Could he do a twilight payment at all?
No, he won't get that speed.
Okay. Number 14, Dakin Sweet Jr., $51.
Yeah, he should be $151.
Okay. Number 15, Grand Promenade, $81.
He should be $1,081.
Number 16, Arapaho, $71.
He should be $171.
Number 17, the Geelong Cup winner, Emissary, $31.
Smoking gun. Read of that what you will, but he's a smoking gun in this race. He jumped out of the ground and came from nowhere. His win was real. Surefire is no plotter. Surefire was very good. Good solid performance last start. Good win, unsatisfactory ground, goes better on top of the ground, etc., etc. This bloke's Geelong Cup performance, I would have given you 1,000 to won this horse in a Melbourne Cup prior. But that Geelong Cup win was supersonic. He's another first four sort of knockout player.
What's his, because at Geelong Cup, they had a beautiful good 4 track then. What's your take on a soft 7?
Now, this is a difficult part with this horse because his wet track form's ordinary, but his form around that was ordinary. So he hasn't gone any worse on the wet as he did on the dry. He was just like part of the pack. And he just launched out of the pack last start. So is he a horse who's just right place, right time? He's got some good historical form. It's all been on dry ground also. He had very limited exposure to wet. So I'm sort of going in with him as a neutral rather than being completely dismissive. He's had 2 goes heavy ground for zeros. But I think you could have run those races on dry ground. He would have got the zeros and he would have produced IVR numbers that are quite similar. The riding was on the wall too back at Caulfield. Even though he ran 8th, his squeeze was massive and his acceleration was good. Go back to start before that at Caulfield, and that was on some ground on heavy track with some give. 16.5 length squeeze, sustained speed home. So I'm not going to knock him out at all. Based on the heavy ground. That Geelong Cup one was just super.
Okay, $31. Number 18, Luna Flare, 21, but needs to pass a vet exam in the morning.
Give me more intel on the vet exam.
It sounds like maybe she's thrown a shoe or something's a bit off with one of her feet. So I think they have to reshot her in the morning. And it sounds like Graham Begg, well, this is a quote from The Age. It's just a matter of when we put the shoe back on at 6 a.m. in the morning, whether she can walk out comfortably. That's his quote.
I got no interest in that then. None. Oh, I got none. I can't. That's the only way I can put it.
Yep.
I would have marked her somewhere right around the mark. You know, is top 5, top 6. She was flying coming into theirs. Flemington run 2 back, awesome. Mini Valley run just looked like we're here for the perfect lead up going into a Melbourne Cup. Everything's going to be spot on. If you're going out to run a marathon, mate, and you're going to put your shoes on in the morning and see if you can walk, mate, not getting my money.
Oh, I tend to agree. I had her top 6, top 8 in my numbers, and you've just got to risk her off that information. Number 9, Smoke and Romans, $17. Number 19, I should say.
Caulfield Cup favourite. I couldn't have had him anywhere near favourite. He went as I expected him to go. If he wasn't trained by Ma Eustace, I'd give him none. I'd mark him better than hundreds, even off the Turnbull win.
And that's a compliment to the stable, by the way.
The camp's scary, mate. They can do anything. That's the only reason he stays. And JLK, Jamie Lee, on board, I can't dismiss him, but he's not in my numbers. If you wanted to back him, I couldn't blame him.
Number 20, Charlie Rose, $71.
Yeah, it should be $1,071.
21 Point Nepean is scratched. 22, High Emotion, $34.
Won the world's worst Bendigo Cup. I can't remember a Bendigo Cup being 5 runners and 3 of them being no good. Grace Port Phillip, progressive horse. Reality with her is I can look back as far as I like in her form, and she's never broken benchmark. You win a Melbourne Cup off that, you're brilliant. The only thing with her, the more rain that comes, the more runners she beat home.
That's it for her?
That's it for her.
Number 23, Interpretation, $51, and also has to pass a vet exam tomorrow.
Passing the vet's just never good, is it?
What's
his problem?
This one doesn't sound as bad. So this is a quote from Kieran Ma in The Age. I'm confident he'll be right in the morning when they look at him. He just had a nail in the wrong spot and we took the shoe off and addressed the problem. It's back on now and it looks fine. It is up to what they think in the morning.
Well, my question marks to me on where was that nail?
Well, it was a millimetre or 2 away from where it should have been.
Okay. That means if a nail's in the wrong spot, he's not in the right spot.
When they did the trot up, something didn't look right. I think Mara and Eustace agreed, took off the shoe, put the shoe back on, reckon it all looks fine, confident he'll get past fit tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I still don't like the nail in the wrong spot. I had him as another knockout runner, but I can't take the nail.
All right, so you just put all one straight through him?
I have to.
Okay. Number 24, Realm of Flowers, has been one of the big shorteners since the barriers. Drew barrier 5, 50 kilos, $12 with the tab.
You tell me why.
Well, I think they look at, was it the last start or the second last start? I think it was the last start, ran with 2,400 metres. Beat home Durston. Durston went on to win the Melbourne Cup. This horse also is a winner at Flemington over 2,800 metres at listed level. Yeah, one of those horses that loves Flemington should have no issues at the trip, and apparently, well, does love a heavy track. So from that point of view, and if you're looking at weights as well, there's a lot of people giving it that tick. I know David Gately has it on top as well.
Oh, is that because the less weight makes you faster?
Oh, well, I think, yeah, as I said, heavy track, tick, gets a distance, is a tick, and beat the Caulfield Cup winner last start.
Okay, last start, 32.2 length squeeze through the mid. Big squeeze. All the horses that came out of that Metrop flat off that squeeze. Anyone who backed up off it, flat as a biscuit. Sensational squeeze. 31 days, ideal. Wet track, massive. Question mark. You're going to have to run a phenomenal PB to win. And if you don't run the phenomenal PB and you do win, it's a poor cup. No way in the world off that profile could I possibly mark a horse single digits. Not possible. Couldn't win the cup off any of her last 6 starts. Wouldn't even run first 5. The squeeze says you're flying. All 3 squeezes, starts 1, 2, and 3. These campaigns say you're flying. Gonna have to run a big peak. That's my only question. Not easy to do, but not impossible. And obviously, the wetter, the better. So heavy 8, start to push, you beat a lot of them home. That is, in terms of winning credentials, I can't have it.
All right, we've got 7 minutes left. So how do you want to play the last 7 minutes? Have you shortened your list down to an 8 or a 10, or how have you gone about putting?
How have I gone about
the line through? Yeah,
I'm looking at Gold Trip, Montefilia, Young Verta, Deauville Legends winning contenders. Then I've got, without a fight, Jewis and Huya Mal behind that. And a little question mark next to Emissary. So that's where I'm at right now. In terms of my first 4 horses in order, who I'm selecting to win the Melbourne Cup. I'm finding it very hard to split Gold Trip and Montefilia. I think they're the 2 big runs coming in, and they're the right horses coming in. So on those 2, can't really split them. Deauville Legends, my 3rd horse. Young Verta is my 4th horse. And that's where I lie.
Okay, and then the others, you wouldn't be backing them as savers, or you're just looking to play them in multiples without a fight?
I can put those sort of horses without a fight. Jewis, Huya Mal, Emissary. I can put them into box trifectas, first 4s. If there are any astronomical sort of odds there, you can obviously, it doesn't cost you very much money to have something on them to win a lot of money. So you can play like that. The Gold Trip and Montefilia, they're the 2 horses that I am with. And if the track condition stays the way it is now, I'll be with Gold Trip. And if it deteriorates, the more it deteriorates, the more Montefilia will leap ahead of him.
Okay. You back them both then?
Yeah.
Okay. The same numbers that I've selected Saturday night when I did the form. I had Deauville Legend on top of Without a Fight. I can't have them that far apart in the market. I don't think there's a hell of a lot between them form-wise. But I'm definitely not going to back Deauville Legend. Like if you have been able to get on at 100 to 1, or you played it at $18 a month or 2 ago, fantastic. You're riding, I think, the most likely winner. But at $3.60, I can't touch it. Without a Fight, I'm I'm a possibility to play it to cover myself as a saver. I don't think it's a horse I want to play to make a profit necessarily, because I think it is a question mark on the soft, which left me with my third and fourth picks, Young Werther and Montefilia. Young Werther, I think, is a silly price at 41. I think he's lightly raced. Danny O'Brien's had this in mind all prep. I think we were talking about this guy as a potential Melbourne Cup horse last year, and obviously he went amiss, and they've given him that 12 months off to target this. And each run has been building, and we saw last year Very Elegant come out of the Cox Plate and do what she did. And this is a weaker edition. I just think $41. I actually got $47 and $10 a place. She's a massive each way bet for me. I'll also back Montefilia for a positive result. And then my wider numbers are Gold Trip, Jewess. I had Luna Flare there. Luna Flare comes out. Emissary was 8th. So Emissary gets elevated to 7th. And then I'll be elevating Stockman into my top 8. And I'll be playing them. Those are my numbers. So Deauville Legend and Without a Fight, but I'll be playing Young Werther each way, Montefilia for a positive result, and then figuring out whether I also have little bets on Gold Trip and Jewess at prices to make a profit. Emissary and Stockman, I won't be backing them to win, but they'll probably be my wider first 4 numbers. We've got 2.5 minutes. Was there anything else you feel like talking about?
Oh, just to relive the magical moments of Derby Day. Fantastic meeting. And I was a little bit disappointed in the performance of the ride on Mr. McGugan up in the Eagle.
Light infantry.
Yeah, and then, you know, that little question mark on some of the international boys when they do come down. There's just a lack of space for them, and you know, plotting their path through the field isn't the easiest of things at the moment. So, you know, I think if the international boys are going to come down and they're going to ride, I think it'd be fantastic for them to ride more in terms of, you know, just don't jump on for that one. I think they should ride throughout the program. Maybe it's something we need to watch in the future. I wasn't overly, you know, we were dead the second the gates opened, really. We didn't get a go.
Yeah, no positive intent at all, and hard to win from back there. And I heard a part owner on radio today saying they were expecting him to sit sort of first 4 or first 6 and end up being 4 back the fence. So not a great watch there.
Well,
outside,
you can't always do that when they go +10 first sections.
Yeah. Outside the Melbourne Cup, just quickly, first race 6, I like Just Folk at $5. I like the Garden 11 into 850. So I've missed that $11 price, but I think the Garden can knock off Minx Moment, who isn't that great on the soft track. Promise of Success looks hard to beat in race 9, and Nicolini Vito in race 10. So they're my numbers.
Well covered, mate.
Beautiful, mate. We won't do an Oaks Day show, but we will be back ahead of Stakes Day. All the tips on the Facebook page. Thanks, Hayden. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Go Gold Trip, and go Montefilia.
Go Young Werther.
Adios.